That's the 911.
911, somebody just broke into our house. We're all alone. Please help us.
Is somebody in the house now?
I don't know, but I just said somebody. Please help us. Please, my brother's 5. Please help us. Please.
Hold on 1 second, okay? I got officers in mind, okay?
Please. I'm scared. Please help us.
Where's your mother and father at?
My mom's releasing my brother. Please help me.
That's the 911.
Oh yeah, that's our warning. Warning for you, the viewer. Nothing's going to be given out that's going to make you a superstar. Man, it's Saturday, the The horrid weather's coming. That's what I was told. The bad weather, the horrid weather. We're live on Rumble, X and YouTube. Punched out a kick, but something weird happened, so we said, forget it. Anyway, thanks for attending tonight. It's kind of a SP episode, special episode. I'd like to thank JJ Miller for helping us do this and getting this one put together. It was kind of something that was redated because we planned on putting it out about 2 to 3 weeks ago, but man, things were shifting, things were changing. The world was getting volatile. Yeah, world was shifting, world was changing. Let's take a look at this craziness. Yeah. In the last 13 days, man, look at that. In the last 13 days, active shooter, active shooter, active shooter. Inspired, crash into a church, active shooter, 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 active shooter. Hold on, it's like an unhealthy person falling off of a building. Got to take a breath. Active shooter. Yeah. And you wonder why law enforcement practices accelerationism. Yeah, the phenomenon. Now I know some of you, I know what accelerationism is. It's, it's a sociological thing, the ideological mechanic of violence, condoning the norms, or condoning, whatever the heck you want to call it, man. It's a linguistic twist on society. The accelerationism. Society has an accelerationism problem all on its own with specific groups. But you got to understand the core definition of accelerationism. Accelerationism is a critical ideology that hoists the existing social order, period, done over. The existing social order must be pushed to its limits to participate in systemic collapse, systemic rebuilding, systemic identification, and the accelerationism of society itself creates the condoning ideology and the conditions for what would be identified as revolutionary change in society. And you wonder why there's so much militarization in law enforcement. You wonder why they look like the deploying Mew on your streets. Well, let's talk about that. The criminal justice content of this actual show, it doesn't manifest any deliberate act or give any deliberate information for anybody to go out and do anything. It's academic. It's information. So keep that in your kidneys as you're listening and watching the show. All right. The violence condoning mechanism, the mechanic, the person in society with the sociological thought, the idea, the argument, the phenomenon, unlike traditional terrorists, traditional ideologies that use violence as a means to end. Accelerationism treats violence as both a means and specifically violence that forces the state to reveal its oppressive nature, therefore radicalizing observations, radicalizing observers. Yeah. So accelerationism, which would be the need for, one would say, the reform in society, the radical change in society. One has identified a problem that society has not changed, or says, hey, this needs to be identified and we need to argue the government for change. Okay, great. Accelerationism in words. Accelerationism is not going to be recognized by your local government, your oppressive nature that you feel emotionally, or that you argue with your other friends or compadres that think, feel, believe they're oppressed too. It's not going to be listened to. It's not going to be noticed if it's done in a common or linguistic manner. Just hate to break the news to you. It's got to be done in an academic manner. You expect your state legislative body to listen to screaming and yelling and rocks being thrown in protest and burning flags and yelling at the police and yelling at elected officials that the majority of, you out there in society that protest, you helped voted those elected officials in, executive, legislative, judicial. They're there because of you. It's kind of the saints culture. Yeah, the saint culture. The good guys, the ones that want to make everything great again. The systematic defecation. Yeah, the dump on society. Yeah, perpetrators of mass violence. Those are the ones that are the saints, but those are the ones that are lobbying and arguing for the change, but they're out there executing that act of violence. Let me help you out with it. Antifa, BLM, the Boogaloos, the Proud Boys. Yeah, I said it all. Everybody has that identity in society. That one thing they want to push for. That one, we're being oppressed. Something's being taken away. But yet, as soon as the wee-woos, the blue lights, the sirens show up, everybody, I don't know, now they're in fear. That's the enemy, regardless of who it is. Got all these Second Amendment, protests and for it or against it, and all these new bills coming out for banning assault weapons. Well, I don't know. Nancy Pelosi, you need to ask her. A hammer's an assault weapon. Let's ban hammers. More cars help aid in death by drunk drivers or impaired drivers in the nation than guns. So let's ban cars. They're assault weapons too. They're 3,000 pounds. But, we've tackled that with the licensing of people that don't speak English and drive, 80-ton vehicles and make bad lane changes and kill families in soccer vans. Yeah, we've argued that. Yeah, those that get CDLs that can't even speak the English language, the predominant language of the country, and all of these signs in the United States are in what? The English language, specific font, specific size, specific format. So here we go. The radicalizing of observers in society, that oppressive nature. And you wonder why law enforcement itself practices accelerationism to keep up with the accelerationism of society. How many of you that are super protesters and super people out there that want to attend that riot, that protest? How many of you want a frozen water bottle in the head? How many of you want a rock in the head? I don't see anybody in the chat volunteering for it. So if you volunteer for a rock or a frozen water bottle in your face, please put a thumbs up. Let us know who you are. We'll find a way to mail you a training schedule to get hit in the head with a rock or a frozen bottle of water. So why is law enforcement practicing accelerationism? It's the saints' culture fracturing itself. Giant defecation of the saints on their own culture. Not able to comprehend or understand that they're creating their own problem. Society creates the acceleration of law enforcement, period. Because law enforcement comes from society. Everybody gets out there and wants to have that, day of the saint, that day of the boogaloo, that day of the reed siege, that day of the rope. For those of you that do not understand what I'm saying in terminology, for investigations and law enforcement people and people that are in the executive, judiciary, and legislative review side of your government that you voted for or didn't vote for or didn't like them because you weren't good enough to argue against somebody voting for him. But boogaloo, referring to impeding civil conflict. Yeah, impeding it. Not invoking it, but impeding it. Throwing the monkey wrench in to create chaos in the government. The saints canonized attackers, yes. Now, canonized attackers doesn't mean people running around with cannons. The day of the saint is canonized in ideology, rhetoric, edict, radicalization. So, I don't know. How many of you really seen a superstar, fit ninja warrior, Navy, Rocky, Delta, Squirrel, SEAL, Antifa member? I never have. They're always kind of janky. Yeah. Who goes to Home Depot and buys their gas mask? I mean, come on. Reed Siege, referring to James Mason's Acceleration Manifesto. For those of you that don't know, James Mason was a, accelerationist, brain-wise, thought-wise, practitioner, linguistic, preach, verbiage, idealistic, rhetoric and edict, also to society. And a lot of people in society did listen and they did conform to the acceleration practice against the government or with the government. The day of the rope, simple, mass executions. That's what it means. Do your own research. This is an academic channel. We don't do political news and we do not cover the news. Just to let everybody know. When investigating accelerationism cases in the world of criminal justice to use and aid those that are practitioners in psychology and sociology, officers have to understand singular aspects, all right? They have to understand the suspect. The suspect often views their own death or capture as a part of the operational success of something that was targeted in an accelerationism practice, event. Take No King's Day, any type of crazy cool parade you could put out there. That incorporated such terminologies as Boogaloo, Saints, the Reed Siege, the Day of the Rope, anything that would be interpreted that way. And these are just examples. We could have 1,000 examples, if we really wanted to here tonight. Well, we don't want to take all night. But anything that has been established into the ideology, edict, and rhetoric of the event to the participator of the event. Therefore, the event has been accelerized. The event is now witnessing and seeing accelerationism by the event leaders. It's operational success. The goal is to create a spectacle, destabilization, no survival at the event of the event's true intent. I don't know, save the dogs day, save the squirrels day, an event for something that's good, and now the edict and the rhetoric that's coming in. The Saints culture, create copycat dynamics where predators have manifestos specifically designed to discover, celebrate, and then it's carried on. Your social media platforms, your dum-dum boxes, your dum-dum boxes, the cell phone. Look, I've got one too. Your dum-dum boxes that your face is in all day. Yeah, that's the online community. The Saints, the Saint culture. We can spread the word quickly and fast. You're practicing accelerationism. You're spreading the word. Now you're creating an argumentative theory, an argumentative hypothesis, an argumentative baseline for law enforcement to argue to the executive body of legislative power. We need more equipment. We need more money. We need more aid. We need more substantial backing because of the accelerationism that is practiced in society. The Saints culture, understanding how extremist groups target law enforcement, simply to destabilize society. It's not hard for an extremist group to destabilize society. It's not hard for a lone wolf to destabilize society. Take a look at this. It's not hard. Just in the past few days, 13 days. Well, I guess, I don't know. Maybe if you didn't have accelerationism being practiced in law enforcement, maybe some of these would have turned out a whole lot worse than they did. Not saying that it was great, but it is what it is. Violence is violence. Don't see anybody calling the terrorists when something bad happens. Don't see anybody calling the Boogaloos or calling Antifa or BLM or this group or that group or that group. It's always 911. Somebody come save me, and then it turns into the fist principle. Somebody created something. They can't fix it. They have no idea what to do. They call the police to come fix it. The police show up, which is the pinky to fix the problem. Now they don't like the way the accelerationism practice of the police, law enforcement, is applied to fix the problem. Now comes the fist. Now comes anger. It's not law enforcement's fault. It's your fault. You voted for the crappy executive position, the ding-dong that restricts the hands of law enforcement. You voted for the moron to sit in the seat of state rep, state senator, executive body, Republican, Democrat, left-wing, right-wing. It's just a big battling buffoonery contest of each side of government trying and attempting to practice their own linguistic accelerationism against each other to get society to distinguish, whether they're going to follow one or the other. It's a legitimate argument that the executive body wants to present to you. The core idea, some extremist groups believe that, attacking police officers will speed up the collapse of society, speed up the collapse of a executive idea, partisan, bipartisan. Law enforcement is not going to speed up the collapse of anything if you hurt or defame or stop law enforcement. The only thing that's going to happen is somewhere, somehow, somebody in the executive position is going to recognize, hey, hold on a minute. We've got stuff like this happening in society. We need more what? Law enforcement. Therefore, we need more money. Therefore, we need more cars. We need more equipment. We need more MRAPs. We need more Bradleys. We need more vehicles that look like a Marine Corps MEU deployment in our city. So all you got to do is blame yourself. Blame all the anti-ICE people. Do you not have jobs? Good God. See the same people out at these protests all the time. I'm always told, hey, Dr. Gurley, can you watch this? Hey, Mike, can you look at this? Can you see this? It's always the same people with the jargonistic rhetoric that makes so sense, and the verbiage that comes out is not even at a legislative and or an executive level. It's emotion. It's I think, I feel, I believe. There's no academic or scholarly venue to it. So the core idea of the collapse of society is flawed in itself. Attack the police, go against the police. It's kind of like being a minority populated city, and the law enforcement agency in the city is minority populated, and now the population is trying to point out or specifically say that another specific race, creed, or culture is the man holding them down. So you're telling me that like maybe less than 10% of a specific race, creed, or culture is holding the 80% down? Please give me a break. And then it turns into a collapse. The vision, the according vision, the necessary to rebuild. We're going to create chaos, protest, march. We're going to create the need for the police to show up. It's different from people who want reform. Reform is different. Reform is not getting out there like a pinhead. Now, you have the right to protest peacefully, hold signs, talk, speak loudly, not incite disturbances, not mudslinging, not rocks throwing. And yes, law enforcement can put you in a specific place to protest. Yes, sure does. Federally, the Constitution, you can protest. But in the Constitution and in the federal word or literature aspect of law, it doesn't say where in the specific city or where in the state. So therefore, the legislative body of the state, Ninth Amendment, if it's not covered in the Constitution or federal law, can add to. So thus, permits. You got to get the permit so that you can actually protest, because we're going to put the one protest group away from the other protest group to keep the clashes from happening. But nobody understands that. Nobody wants to get down and, be learned. You want to watch stupid stuff, dumb stuff on YouTube and TV and whatever this social group, social media you're watching. All right, we're on, we're on YouTube, Rumble, and X, Twitter. So if you're watching, give me a thumbs up or a 5 and 5, something with audio and video. I know a lot of people watch this stuff later because they're always busy, but that's cool. What does acceleration mean? It's a strategy where people try to make the existing problems worse so that the whole system falls apart faster. Society builds accelerationism. Therefore, law enforcement has to apply accelerationism in order to maintain curve, maintain a step ahead, maintain 4 to 5 chess moves ahead. Law enforcement's got to actually think too, just like society would. So if society's upset, society's broke down, society's angry with each other, what do you think law enforcement's going to do? They're going to respond to what society accelerationism is demonstrating, period. So think of it like throwing gasoline on a small fire. Yep, gas on a small fire. Hope it burns, but it's going to shift, it's going to move, and everything around it's going to burn down because you threw the gasoline on the fire. You didn't concentration introduce the gas to the fire. Controlled. The state of the flow of the fuel. You just tossed it in there. You practiced something called accelerationism. You just threw it in there because you wanted it to be cool. You wanted that explosion, that accelerationistic system. You wanted something to fall apart and just go everywhere. Why does this matter in society, accelerationism? I know some people are saying, well, we know this, but well, great, you know it. You know the actual trigger to it, but you don't know what it really is in the world of scholarly review, in the pretext, the way an executive in the legislative body is going to argue it. Congressional, Senate, state representative. You don't understand those words because you don't speak those words every day. You don't. Half of society doesn't even know what accelerationism is. It's kind of a breakdown in something called the education system. Why does it matter? The ideology of accelerationism has moved to former locations. Online. Yes, online. Online is easier to trigger real world violence. Everyone's susceptible. Think of the ones with no self-esteem, no self-worth. Those that are looking for something, those that are looking for that, hey, we like you, we want you, let's push you into the group. It's fast-paced, it's moving, it's accelerationism. Law enforcement has to respond the same way. Society is practicing accelerationism in extreme action, extreme group violence, protests, riots, active shooter, hate crime, whatever it is. Don't hate the messenger here, just hate the actual crime itself. Let me see what's going on. Yep, we're good, alive, and hot in a few things. And I know some people think, don't want to watch this, don't want to listen to this. Well, it's cool, man. You don't have to, because you're still practicing accelerationism. You're choosing what you want to watch, where you want to go. Law enforcement, document these cases of accelerationism. That's why it matters. That's where their funding comes from. Defund the police. Well, the more accelerationism happens in the United States on a daily basis, well, the police are going to be well funded. It's kind of like all those active shooters. Yeah. Up at the beginning of the show, we had those active shooters listed out, hate crimes, and you wonder why law enforcement is doing what it's doing. There are two main types of accelerationism. What we're going to cover is explaining the difference, philosophically, the strains, the details that fall under the accelerationist label. Two types. Yes, two types. And we're going to make a few people happy and maybe make a few people mad, but we're going to cover both left wing and right wing, the two dirty wings of the old fat wooden teeth bird. Right wing accelerationist, the academic kind, all right, associated with the philosopher Nick, what's his last name? Nick Land, yeah. It's a complex theory about pushing capitalism and technology to their extreme limits, extreme levels, acceleration in capitalism, IT, tech. Well, those that are the anti-accelerationist, or those that are the left wing, as opposed to the right wing that are going to save the dolphins, save the squirrels, but I've got to have my cell phone and all my media and my tech to push it out. Now you're contradicting yourself under the practitioner definitions of accelerationism and anti-accelerationism. You're practicing the same thing that a law enforcement agency would practice to respond, but you're doing it with technology, anti-big technology. Yeah, I know it's hard for people to pick up and people to understand, even if it becomes anti-democratic principles. I didn't say democratic society. It's a republic with democratic principles. Yes. It's more about economic and technology with the right wing. Yep. More with change. More with change. Not the violence of it. The militant accelerationist. Yes. Now, there are militants on both left and the right. Yes. The violent kind. And you got to call it for what it is. You do. How many people have been assaulted by specific groups on both left and right at riots, at events? Can't say it doesn't happen, because it has happened. This is what most people mean by when they talk about the dangerous accelerationism. Okay, accelerationism today, 2026. There's a operation going on. Attacks are happening now. The acceleration of the media to put you on fear's end. Go buy all your food, gas, panic. The Muslims are coming. Islam's coming. You're being sucked in by what? Accelerationism, the media. It's a tactic. It involves actual detailing of terrorist actions, bombings, shootings, assassinations, something intended to cause disruption, something intended to cause distrust in the government, the collapse of the government through sociological intervention of me, my feelings, I think, I feel. Well, the government's not going anywhere, I hate to tell you. What are you going to do? Get your group and go plow down the governmental field and take them out? No, you're not. It's not going to happen. You're fantasizing on that acceleration view, but you're falling prey to it. And law enforcement is going to accelerate faster than you to respond to your stupidity if you go out there and do a militant acceleration act. Yep. How they connect. Yep. They all connect some way. Both examples, the militant and the, so to say, the Nick Land principle, the associated philosopher with capitalism and technology. How do they both work together? One has to pick this up because you can't have one without the other. Both share the belief that pushing current trends to break their point out to society will create something new. We need AI. We need more IT. We need to go create some more American versions of the drones that we discovered. Yeah. The Iraqi drones, our version. Well, there's another war going on. Where do you think all that drone technology came from? Cocaine sales? No. It's a joke, people. It's kind of sad when you do an interview a lot, and every time you're in an interview, you're doing the, habit wipe. But one operates in the, so to say, systemic acceleration platform of the world with ideas, economic success. Yeah. Even those that are left-wing and right-wing that practice extremism, militantism, you want some kind of economic success to achieve your goal. Your people are recognized. Now your people are in the media. Attention. It's an economic goal. Somebody's watching. You don't think someone is going to fund it? It's kind of like being monetized on one of these platforms. Everybody loves that money that comes in, even if you're stealing everybody else's information. It's kind of like these people that have 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 followers a night, and they're showing you repeats of X, repeats of YouTube, repeats of Fox, repeats of everything else, and it's not original content. It's plagiarism. It's stolen content, but yet the economic system, those in that media, that broadcasting platform, are practicing accelerationism too, capitalizing on the violent act or the violent kind, because you're tuning in and you're watching. Congratulations. You're being sucked into the vacuum. And those that would argue, no, I'm not, I'm out there doing it. Yeah, but it's your trigger, it's your push, it's the thing. You've got to have it. If you watch the female serial killers things, the team, it's the thing, it's that thing, it's the trigger. Oh, yeah. It's distinctful how they both connect. Why distinction matters. Now, a lot of people wouldn't understand that distinction of the two types matter, because law enforcement needs to understand that not everyone talking about acceleration is violent. Period. Done over. Some are just fake. Some are extremely dangerous. Yeah. It's kind of like the business entrepreneur, the acceleration in the IT world, manipulating society. You need our new app to video more violence and put it out there. Kind of like CNN having to apologize. What did I say last night, the night before? Yeah. Accelerationism in the news, missing the fact, missing the reliability, missing the credibility. It just all goes down the drain. Now we're going to get out there and claim, no, we got it wrong. I must shut up. You lied in the first place. Good grief. Simple things. Accelerationism. Anyone ever heard of a terrogram? Terrogram. The Terrogram Network. Yeah, an online ecosystem of channels and groups that spread neo-fascist propaganda as defined by groups in 2020 to 2026. Neo-fascist. But the majority of these groups do not understand what fascism is. They can't even articulate it back to the Roman Empire. They can't argue it back to Mussolini. They can't argue it back to World War I or World War II, France, Russia, the United States, India, different countries on the continent of Africa that were infiltrated by Germany during World War II. They don't even understand because you're not taught your history. Your public schools suck. Failed you. Yeah, neo-fascist propaganda, celebrating the terrorists as saints. Yes, saints. We're taking out the fascists. We're going to go take out the police. We're going to label the police, specifically hate the police programs, because they want to see the protection of the radically mixed society. They want society to fall apart, destroy itself, because the only thing out there is the law enforcement entity to put a foot in you, stop you, shut you down. It's just the bottom line. Nobody's going to call the United States Army to come take out extremist groups, militant groups that aren't terrorist groups and commit violence at a active shooter level, bombing level. You guys know what I'm talking about. We're not talking about assaults or stupid groups, burning things down. You can cry all you want. Everybody, in the past few years have watched those riots and seen that stuff on TV. BLM, Antifa, setting things on fire. Why does somebody want to go in and destroy their own dadgum town? Oh, it's outside agitators. Well, why aren't the people in the city stopping the outside agitators from coming? Why? It's an acceleration angle. The money, the profiteer. I know. Accelerationism. Let's accelerate it. Let's offer money so that people will come into a specific region of the country and protest and do our bidding, carry our signs, and do stupid stuff and attract the attention of police so that society can become anti-police, and the police lobby for more money and get more money because those with money are accelerationists finding I want to be in an accelerated program of protest of society and the government so that the government and society would collapse. But now you're defund the police, hating the police because they're out there with their faces in yours. You're creating it yourself. I don't know if you're superstar leaders of your groups or your militant groups or your protest groups or you could be something like the Order of Nine Angels, the satanic neo-Nazi group, yes, that one really exists. Do your own research. You create your own turmoil. You get the attention of accelerationism and law enforcement because you're pushing accelerationist platforms. You're pushing accelerationist edict, ideology, and rhetoric. Edict, ideology. Yeah, you're taking an ideology and putting it on your own words first before you even recognize the true ideology. It's kind of like extremism in religion. You give one paragraph out of the Quran or Bible or whatever text you're doing, or you give one verse and you think that verse is a cover catch-all. Well, law enforcement doesn't work that way in accelerationism. Law enforcement have something called federal law, state law, legislative, executive, judiciary. Period. They're the first hands of judicial review because why? Somebody called 911. They were there. They were dispatched there. They're watching you practice accelerationism yourself on the street. Now here comes the acceleration, the things that you just don't want to show up. It's society's fault. Society has no one to blame but their self for the accelerationism practice in law enforcement. Realistically, it is what it is. Let's find a good topic. We got a lot of emails. I mean, like I said before, we were going to do this about 2 or 3 weeks ago, but we had to postpone it because some of the researchers got a buttload of emails, and they were good questions, But we're going to cover a few. I know it's Saturday night. We don't want to kill your Saturday night. Plus, my quads are burning. I did like that 5K on the treadmill, with the incline. Yeah, I did the crazy day. I did 5.2, then went to 5.5, did a mile and dropped it down to 2 and then rose it back up. And now I'm paying for it. Yeah, it was a 5K. I had to do it because it was a new treadmill in the gym. It just looked cool. It was like one of those IT, technological advancement. It was accelerated in the treadmill world. Yeah. Why this is acceleration, why this is accelerationism. The revolutionary lefty, left wing. Yes, accelerationist logic. I'm going to give you the right. I know, we can't do one without the other. Or that would be what? Biased. The core belief, capitalism, the state. Yep. Irredeemable. Can't trust them. Yeah. Peaceful reform only legitimizes the system. That's the verbiage that's put out there. Do you really believe it? Fighting with cops, carrying guns to a protest. Yeah, you can carry a gun to a protest, but when you know you're going to get out there and conflict with people, you don't carry the gun. Come on. Be smart about the common dadgum sense. Well, you could use legislative law. You can law argue all dadgum day you want. It's kind of like carrying a knife to a gunfight. What kind of moron does that? Straight stupid. Accelerationism in the left explicitly aims to speed up the contradictions of the system until it breaks. The contradictions in the system, the government, the policies, the legislative word of law, law enforcement, enmities of policy and procedure. I think, I believe, I feel, my emotions. What am I watching? I don't know. I can't define it because I had a public education and I'm listening to social media and I'm listening to the left-wing people, and they're using only words that are accelerationist to that platform, not waiting for gradual change. You got to force the crisis now. Got to point the finger. Well, nobody's pointing the finger if you can go do your video research to where Hillary Clinton, the queen of the Democratic lefty world, said the same thing about Iran that Trump did. President Obama, the poster child of the Democratic Party, the poster child of the left, the love. The same thing about ICE and illegal aliens migrating and immigrating into the country illegally for something that's been on the books over 100 years as a law. You don't see anybody anti-accelerationist than that, do you? No, it just doesn't happen that way. Everybody wants to watch that public opinion, I believe, on the big screen of their phones of somebody that wants you to get them monetized and accelerationistically increase their funding. Yeah, the relationship between police and the left. Police are the frontline enforcers of the system. Period. Done. Over. You're not. Now, you're going to hear these arguments. The police are not there for you. Those arguments are right. They're not there for you. You were there to take care of yourself. You were there to enforce safety for yourself. You're there. You're the front line for you. I said police are the frontline enforcers of the system. The system, legislative law, the government, the executive body. They're there for them first, not for you. Who do you think they're going to go take care of? The mayor first or you during a sociological collapse? They're going to go take care of the mayor. They're going to go take care of the executive body first. Every injured officer, every precinct burned, every city made ungovernable or governable by weak executive members that were put into the state weakens the state capacity to demonstrate order. Period. It's done. The state can't maintain control. Look at crappy cities. Look at New Orleans. Look at Memphis. Look at Atlanta. Look at New York. Just accelerationism at a crisis now. Jump in the face, argue against the government instead of let's approach the problem and solve the problem one problem at a time and correct it and make it to where we can manageably accelerationist protocol manage the city. But instead, we want to point the finger at everything else. And the police. Yeah. Why do the police have, why do they get money and the goofy, crazy groups out there? I don't know. The Leering centers. Why are they not getting money? Well, maybe because the government doesn't support leering. They support learning. It's kind of odd, isn't it? 2 examples. Well, I mean, we'll give a few examples of the left, and then we'll give a few examples of the right. And here's the deal. This is academic. You can do your own research on this. Love it or hate it. The 99, the WTO, Seattle. Yeah. Greek anarchists. Yep. Conspiracy of cells of fire that regularly attack, police stations worldwide to include the United States. The Battle of Seattle. Yes, the U.S. protest. What about the George Floyd? Yeah, after the George Floyd. Millions protest. Oh, my God, George Floyd. The guy that was arrested, the guy that had a counterfeit bill, the guy that assaulted, the guy that was speaking, the guy that had narcotics. As we could go on it forever. The militant cell operation accelerationism, and that militant, he gave it down. He was a martyr for the people. No, he was a convicted criminal that was a thug, period. If he was so valuable and so deemed in society, why is the monument all tore up and look like garbage now? Do your own research. Googly, the intranet is out there for you to go look. If it was so, there are rock and roll singers and rap stars that have their monuments more in pristine condition than George Floyd's monument that was painted. And some would say it was because lightning struck it. I wonder why lightning struck it. Kind of makes you think a little bit, right? Supernatural deity recognizes it before you do and says, hey, you're militant praising the wrong person. The tactics, systemic property deduction, and destruction. Deduction comes through destruction. In commercial districts, it cripples the local community. There are cities that have not recuperated since the leftist riots. Yes, I said it, the leftist Democrat-funded, paid-for riots. And I'm an academic guy. Look at Minneapolis, 3rd Precinct burned. Gone. Tax on police. Portland, federal courthouse. Yeah, your city looks great. Everybody wants to move to Portland, Portlandia, Port Crackia, Port Dopia, Port Ignorant, Port nobody's going to get a job there. I know one would say, it's just in that specific location. Well, when people mass together from a big city to a specific location and they exhibit things that they do on video to society and to the world that are that of a moron and uneducated person, somebody that does not take care of themselves, somebody that cannot argue academic, scholarly, executive, judicial, we're not even going to get into the details academically because the majority of those people do not understand it. And then the cities that fell victim to destabilization, looting. I mean, who goes to Best Buy for bread? Last time I heard, Best Buy didn't have a bakery. Ideologically, all right, some participants explicitly stated violent actions. On the left side, yes, the left, the Democratic side. Yeah, the left. And that inspired further uprisings. Yeah. Man, Doc, I thought you said you would never go political. Well, we're not going political. We're not mentioning political names. We're not mentioning political arguments because we're about to kick off into the right Republican side of it. That's not pretty either. 2 wings that are dirty, 1 bird. Yep, Portland, Seattle. I mean, where else? Antifa groups, commercial grade fireworks, lasers. You guys know it's in some. Well, we're not even going to get into the legislative word of law because those pinheads don't even care. Just point a laser at somebody. Molotov cocktails at officers. Yes, that happened. Do your own research. It's crazy. Sustained campaigns of stupidity. It's the ABC to, ideology of the left wing, the militant groups, Antifa. Yeah, Antifa, guys, anybody that's scared of Antifa, just please. The people that are scared of Antifa have never been in a fight, have never been law enforcement, have never been in the military, have never been deployed, have never had to stand their own ground, have never been in a ring, boxing, fighting, a martial art. For me, it's Krav, and, I like it. Been doing it for years. But my first one, Kendo. Yes, Kendo, Japanese. And then Aikido. So, long story of that. So, those that fear ding-dongs like Antifa are people that have never self-sustained, self-worth, self-discipline, pride, physicality. But yet, Antifa would find and pick on the, kind of like an active shooter. Weak target, not a hard target. The acceleration, yes, got to find it. The police can't be the Antifa target. You're not going to see them charge police. They're going to stand there in their plastic Walmart shields and black voodoo ninja Kmart clothes. Just is what it is. Now let's cover the right side. Who's ready for that? Let's move to the right side. Yeah. And we're not going to get to incidences that we all know about the left side. Let's cover the righties. Let's cover the militias. Oh, yeah. Let's cover the fake ones. Let's cover the fake ones. Let's do it. The Proud Boys are not a militia, okay? They're a bunch of ding-dongs that run around in some cool clothes cheap-ass airsoft body armor. It doesn't even have any pads or plates. And anybody remember when they were out there chasing people, beating them down? Yeah, it's no different than Antifa. It's a ideology. It's a rhetoric. The Proud Boys are a drinking club with a patriot problem. Now, I know somebody's going to, I know a Proud Boy. I'm going to tell them to come see you. Please do. Let me know. Email me. I will leave the gate open. Please. Please. Because they're a drinking club with a patriot problem. They're not even originally white. Now, you will see the left say they're white. They're not. Why do you have a brown person as the leader? Why do you have the major chapter in Florida that is all brown, Latino, Cuban looking, Puerto Rican looking, speaking the language with accent that's not white? So even the left and even the right, even the extremism in the verbiage is acceleration to convince somebody. Yeah, the saints, the ones that are taking the oppression for the, the poverty. The boogaloos. Now, the boogaloos are, from my direct knowledge through investigation and through talking to them, are pretty much mixed. There is no direct race or creed in this to accelerate the fall of society, but your actual ideology comes from a movie. Yeah, from a drunken crackhead. The boogaloo. You chose that because you can't articulate anything any better. Because you know it's a sociological destruction and a construct that is not any good. As soon as you stand up in the boogaloo movement and the boogaloo pride push, somebody is going to come along with a whole hell of a lot more gear, more training, and more equipment and flatten you. That's just reality. Antifa has done more than the boogaloo movement. Period. The boogaloo, we out there to protect the protesters. We get also, you're monetizing yourselves, the acceleration of the right side of capital gain, which you want the fall. Did you know, society, that some boogaloos accept money for protection to go protect these protesters? So technically, they're on the side of right capitalistic gain and the advancement of society, but not the fall or destruction of the system or protest against the system in a civil fight way. It shows you the oxymoron, the left and the right side in both one group. So really, they're not much of nothing. It should be boohoo instead of boogaloo. Yeah. The militia. Now, everybody knows J6. Oh, my God. All these cool groups that were at the J6 thing. All these names. All these patriot people. Who's that jackass that wears the actual, sippy that, carries the cross and runs around with the flag? Was up and, during the discovery of the Somalian, defunding and, all these protests and stuff, rides in the back of a U-Haul, gets water bottles thrown at him. That's just a jackass agitator. That is not anybody that is worth society's attention, period. And you wonder why law enforcement practices accelerationism. You wonder why. You wonder why law enforcement practices accelerationism when Charlie Kirk dies, and you got people that praise it, people that say there needs to be more of it. Then you have people that are against it and say there does not need to be any more of this. Gun violence bad. Some people, gun violence good. But the ones that were gun violence bad, suppress the gun. When Charlie Kirk gets shot, now it's, yay, he's dead, got shot, assassinated. What a roach, what a communist, what a fascist, what a Nazi. Now you're happy that someone used a gun. So which way is your accelerationism going? To the left or to the right? And this is academically. Do your own research. If you want the research, send me an email. Yeah, right there, Dr. Mike Lee G. And I will give you the research, and you can do it on yourself so that you can look in the mirror and say, dang, I've been listening to the wrong pinheads. I've been listening to the left side. I've been listening to the right side. Now I look like a giant, uneducated, unscholared jackass because accelerationism has made me look stupid. But now you know. Now you know your ignorant. Now you have to go learn something. It's on the right side and the left side, people. There's no more cultural irony than arguing accelerationism in law enforcement as it applies to society and why law enforcement is accelerating. 13 incidences, the majority of them active shooters in the past 13 days. There's more than 13, obviously. But I just, at the start of the show, brought up 13. Scroll back and look at them. Not bringing them up now because I just deleted it off of, OBS and Streamlabs. But here's what it is. You can go look it up yourself. It happens. So, to close this out, since it's on the 7 o'clock hour for some of you, 1900. When you wake up tomorrow, figure out which accelerationistic side you're really going to follow. Choose a side. I hope you choose the scholarly side. Walk away from the left, walk away from the right, and choose the education, choose the scholarly. Because both are full of ideology, edict, and rhetoric. And it's just accelerationistic practices in both. You ever notice that you don't really see truly educated people out at these protests? And I'm not talking about your school teachers or your janky professors that look like kooky professor. You know why they look like kooky professor? Because they are kooky professor. It's kind of like being in a state that allows school teachers and professors, lecturers to carry guns on campus. Do you want that kooky professor carrying that gun on campus? That extremist to the right, that extremist to the left? Or do you want the one that understands accelerationism in law enforcement, legislative word of law, the first response to the system and society to be carrying that gun? Who do you want? The cuckoo left, the cuckoo right? Acceleration is, the acceleration of society is accelerationism. What do you want? Because the police aren't going to be there immediately. They're not going to come save you because they're not there. Somebody has to call them for them to get there. I don't know. Hope you don't want cuckoo professor. So this is one of those special things that we kind of put out there based on a request. It's not a political venue. I'm not arguing favor for any side because they're both dirty. They're both broken. I'm just telling you the academic and the scholarly side is the best way to overcome both accelerationistic failures. Go get an education. Have a good night.